Hello, and welcome to another episode of Business and Experts Forum. If you are new to this program, I just want to extend a special welcome to you. Business and Experts Forum is simply a platform for developing people and businesses through knowledge sharing. We highlight the progress and achievement made by people willing to go the extra mile to improve their lifestyles and the lifestyles of those around them. And the Fortune Forum also features experts and so specialists in their respective fields coming to share knowledge on everyday topical issues such as technology, finance, medicine, engineering, entertainment, social media, and the law, just to name a few. So if you're someone who wants to go into business or want to improve your business processes or gain knowledge, or if you want to develop your passion, talent, or hobby into a business venture, then this forum is for you. Remember, we are live every 2 weeks on Mondays at 7 p.m. GMT, and it's 2 p.m. Eastern Time if you are joining us from the USA. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and click on the bell just so you can receive notifications for every episode. Tonight, our focus is on education, precisely educating our young and future leaders. Educating children and young adults has become a bigger challenge to all in the light of the potential distraction posed by social media and its associated influence on the mental health of children and young adults. So, how do schools manage to navigate all the distractions and still get their students to focus on the core reasons for being in an educational institution? To answer these and other related questions, we have with us an experienced teacher, author, and currently the principal of an international school located in Ghana in West Africa. Dr. Mary Asabia Shan has been a teacher for years and is a principal of Ghana International School, a truly diverse and international institution with pupils spanning over 45 nationalities. She's held that position since 2015. Dr. Shan is here to discuss some of her philosophies on educating children and challenges faced by educational practitioners. We'll also be talking about how her school navigates the pressures associated with academic work and education as a whole. So, if you are, it's a good opportunity for anyone who's got a child or an adolescent in education. It's time for you to draw closer and learn a few things about how you can support your children. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Maria Sabia Shan to the Business and Experts Forum.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here, Marcus. Thank you for having me.
Good, Mary. Great to have you here. How are you feeling today?
Very well, thank you.
As usual, you're still your smiley self. Just go straight to questions, Mary. And I must say that we'll have questions from ourselves and also have questions from the audience who will be putting some of their questions in the chat. Um, you are an educationist and a principal of a very renowned international school in Ghana. So can you just start by telling us about yourself and how you got yourself into education?
So I didn't start out by wanting to be a teacher or thinking that I could be a teacher. It was one of those things that probably came naturally to me because I enjoy talking and I love having an audience. And so, unbeknownst to me, I had demonstrated some ability to teach others and to be in front of an audience. And so, even though I wasn't thinking that way, excuse me, I think many who know me aren't surprised that I ended up being a teacher. Excuse me. I studied to be a research scientist. I'm a biochemist by training, and that's what I did for my undergraduate degree. I went on to study biochemistry for my PhD. And after I graduated in Buffalo, New York, from the State University of New York in Buffalo, my husband and I moved up north to Canada. And when we moved up, there was a recession in 1996, and there were hardly any jobs. So I found myself driving around and, not quite sure, what I was doing, but looking for a job. Always had my CVs in the car. And I saw a huge signboard that said Queensway Christian College. And I remember thinking, what is a Christian college? Because coming from Ghana, you didn't have to be called a Christian school to teach about Christian stuff, any Christianity. And so I got down to go and ask them. I went to their office and I said, I want to know what this is. a curious person as well, so I keep asking questions. And they told me that it's a school. It follows the Ontario curriculum, but they teach things according to their Christian belief. And so I asked what that was, and they said, for example, for evolution, they had to teach evolution as part of the biology program. And so they would teach evolution, but then they would teach creation as well. And I said, okay, I like that idea. Do you need a chemistry teacher? And they said, no, but you can drop your CV off. And if there's a position that becomes available, we'll call you. And I did. Went back home. Within a week, I got a call. The chemistry teacher had resigned. That is actually how I got into teaching. I did that for a couple of years without a bona fide teaching certificate. I was just a graduate from university. And within, I think it was in the first year that I realized, you know what, I need to be doing this for the rest of my life. I love kids, I love education, and I love science. And I'm doing all of that in this one space we call a classroom. And so I did that for a couple more years. And then in my third year, I went back to school to go and get a degree in education and actually learn how to teach. Of course, I'd been doing it, as we say in Ghana, buga buga, just teaching as I thought teaching should be done. But going to school and going to do my education degree let me realize some of the pedagogical aspects of teaching that I'd never thought before, but I was doing them anyway. And I think that's why people would say that it came naturally to me, because I was doing some of the things that worked anyway without knowing that there was a theoretical basis for it. So I did that for a bit at the same school that I'd started with. And then my family moved somewhere else in Ontario. And so I switched schools. Did that for a bit, got a bit bored. And I was talking to this one lady who was a professor at a university in Southern Ontario. And she told me that she was retiring. They were looking for someone to teach science and math to teachers. And I thought, that sounds like me. I'll still be teaching. I'm getting a little bit bored in this, pre-tertiary space. Maybe I can go and teach in the university and experience that as well. So I did. I became a university professor for 5 years. I taught at Redeemer University, which is in Southern Ontario, taught teachers science and math. And then after 5 years, I missed kids and wanted to go back to school, but not as a classroom teacher this time, but as the principal of a school. So I had taken my principal's training program. I did that for a bit and then graduated from that as well. So I had the full qualifications to become a principal. So I did that in Ontario until GIS came calling. I got a call from the board chair saying, we've heard that you want to move back home to Ghana. And I said, yes, I have wanted to do that for the longest time. Tell me more. So they told me more about the school. And of course, growing up, I knew all about GIS. And it just felt right. So flew down here for the interview, liked the space, liked what they were doing, saw the potential, and I got excited. And so that's how I ended up here in Ghana as the principal of Ghana International School.
Did you actually submit applications to find school to teach in Ghana? Did you actually do
No.
that? Oh, because how did the GIS find out that you were actually looking forward to relocating to Ghana to go and teach?
Through a friend of a friend of a friend. You know how these things work. So I
Yeah.
had prior to coming here. So this is I came in 2014. So this is I've completed 7 years. I'm in my 8th year. And prior to that, I had a couple of projects that I was doing in Ghana. From the university, I had a community project where we were teaching literacy to women in Asamankasi. So I would bring university students down to come and do a term or a couple of weeks, depending on their timetable. And so each time I came to Ghana, I was here almost every year for about 5 years. Each time I came, I would connect with other people, right? And we'll be talking, and I would invariably say, oh gosh, I wish I could stay, that sort of thing. So I think it must have gotten around that Mary really wants to come back. And so when I got the call, the board chair said he had heard from someone else that I was looking to move back to Ghana. That's how it happened.
I would say that's interesting. It's such an interesting story, isn't it? But
Hmm. Hmm.
when you're talking, I was just wondering. It's one
Hmm.
thing wanting. It's one thing loving children and
Hmm.
enjoying talking, but it's a different thing actually standing in front of children and teaching them, getting a
Hmm.
reaction from them. How did that go
Hmm.
down with you when it comes to that?
It comes so naturally, I think, and I don't know if it's because I haven't stopped being a kid. I don't know, but so, certainly, I sort of know where kids are at. What was that movie that came out? Was it The Horse Whisperer or The Dog Whisperer? There's something Whisperer. Um,
Does whisper, I
eh,
think it was.
is it the dog or the horse? I think
I
it's a
think.
horse whisperer. But basically, somebody who speaks in such a way that others can hear them. And so this horse whisperer is somebody who can calm frazzled horses. And I think that's probably what I have with children, where I sort of sense where they're at and I know how to get them to work with me.
I must say that if you
So,
are, sorry, go on.
yeah, no, I've forgotten what I was gonna say, but basically that and the sense of wonder that kids have. I don't know whether it's because I love science so much as well, but I've got a sense of wonder. I love surprises. I love new
Okay,
things. I love challenges. I love change, right? And most kids are like that. So it's so very easy for me to plan a lesson. If you threw me in a room right now with a bunch of 5-year-olds, I'll know what to do, right? If you
naturally,
threw me in with a bunch of 16-year-olds, I'll know what to do. Understanding development and understanding that you can't do the same thing with a 6-year-old that you do with a 16-year-old, right?
yeah,
And just tailoring things to what they need is just so important. And because I love that constant change as well, I'm able to design lessons and plan spaces so that children are not bored. I hate being bored. I can't afford to be bored. So I think that even in me wanting to project what I do with children, it's always coming from a space of me not wanting to be bored. And
yeah.
invariably, then I don't bore children either.
Okay, okay. I must
Hmm.
say that if you are in the audience and you know whether that movie is a dog whisperer or a horse whisperer, please put it in the chat so that you can educate Mary and I,
Yeah.
because she thinks it's
I
a
think it's
horse, I
horse.
think it's a dog, so we'll see which one is right. Having said that, Mary,
Yeah.
um, education as we know it
Mm,
has changed. As a
mm,
lot has changed in education since you and I were in secondary school. I mean, gone were the days when you basically wore your school uniform, went into the classroom. The teacher came in, stood
mm-hmm,
in front of the class. There was a blackboard. He had a chalk,
mm-hmm,
um, and taught you from the board. You listened,
mm-hmm,
and you only answered the question when you were asked, as it were, at the time, and things
mm-hmm,
like that. But it has really changed since that time. And
mm-hmm.
what are some of the changes that you've observed as a teacher and also as a principal, and how do you think those changes have impacted on the present day child?
Mm-hmm. I think probably one of the largest things for me has been a greater understanding of children, right? Because when we were growing up, like you were saying, I mean, who cared whether we were happy or not? You know, a teacher came into the classroom, their whole mandate seemed to be to open a book, and if they were a really bad teacher, start reading. If they were a fairly good teacher, they would ask you, where, can you turn to page 45? How many of you did the homework? They would actually ask you questions. If they were a great teacher, they would walk into the class, or they would be in the class before you came. And that's
Hmm.
actually a teaching strategy, to be in the class before the children come, because then you own the space. And when you own the space, it creates a welcoming atmosphere. You're welcoming the children into your space. So if I'm already in the classroom, I can, if it's a science class, a chemistry class, or whatever, I can have some stuff on my table that's blowing up, and fizzing and bubbling and all of that. And all I want to do is to get a kid to say, why is it doing that? All right.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it doing that? And right away, I can start talking about chemical reactions. I can tell them these are the ingredients I put inside this beaker, and write
Yeah.
out what the ingredients are, and then ask the kids, why do you think that by putting this and that, A and B, into this beaker, it is giving the reaction that it's giving? And then we start talking about it, and through that, I can explain equations. We were not taught that way. Do you see what I mean? And
Yeah.
it came
Yeah.
from a lack of understanding, or an unwillingness to meet children where they are. Children are full of wonder. They want to ask questions. They're curious, right? Coming to stand in front of a kid and reading from the textbook, they could do that at home. The kid could read that at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the single most important thing, and forget about the internet is amazing, and the internet has revolutionized how we teach, especially in classrooms that are well resourced. It has influenced it hugely. But when I look at classrooms that have no access, and there are millions of classrooms worldwide where children do not have access to the internet, I think that the single most important thing that has changed is teachers who understand children and understand child development.
It's interesting that you talked about the internet, because one of the things
Mm,
that internet has introduced in the current environment, educational environment, well, globally, is social media.
mm,
And we know that social
mm-hmm,
media, as it is, can be either a good thing or it can be a bad thing. I mean, social
mm-hmm.
media can be good because it can bring about
Yeah.
collaboration between students when it comes to maybe researching material to go and to learn. It can be a good thing when it means that sharing knowledge, sorry, between one student and the other, or teachers sharing information with students. However, we know that social media can also be a very, very bad thing. In your experience, how has that impacted student performance? I mean, I don't know, maybe from the point of view
Mm-hmm,
of what happens in your school, or generally what you've observed
mm,
as a principal or a teacher.
mm-hmm. I think that you've hit the nail right there on the head, where there's the pros and cons of it all. There's the downside where there's major distraction for children, and then the upside is that greater access to information. There was so much. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Oh, okay. So I was saying that there's pros and cons to it,
Yeah.
where the pro is that we have access to information. Children can quickly research, they can put together documents and so on. They can collaborate with one another, they can collaborate with people outside of the school environment. And then, you've got the downside, which is major distraction.
Yeah.
And today, our kids are so distracted all over the place. I mean, there's so many chatting type apps that you can't keep track of it. Now, at my school, we don't allow phones in school. But kids, I'm sure that, they hear that, but they think, oh, I can get away with it. So every so often we have spot checks and we seize your phone, and you're not allowed to have the phone back till the end of the year to detract them from doing that, because we know just how distracting, it can be. So while I applaud the internet for all that it has done, the door that it has opened, I'm also just so painfully aware that until it is monitored well and its usage measured well, right, and supervision is at a high, you know what? You might be rather losing the kids by having internet in school.
And it's interesting you mentioned that. I mean, it's easier to regulate the use of the internet and how, the impact it has on children in the school environment. But then
Mm-hmm.
you have the child that spends the children spend some time of the day at home.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, and this is where sometimes I think it gets really confusing for children, because they go to school and there's a strict regulation as to what they can do, what they cannot do with maybe phones
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. But then in some
Mm-hmm.
cases they come home and then everything is liberal.
Yeah.
So how
Yeah.
how 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 does that work out? I mean, as a principal, how
Mm-hmm.
do you ensure that the kind of the controls that you put in place in the school kind of filters into the home environment and ensures that a child remains in the way, or the child is still under control in
Mm-hmm.
both environments? How does that work out?
I don't think we can ever ensure. We can never ensure, and this is, one of the tough things for us to accept. All we can do is create awareness for parents about the dangers. So, to that end, at GIS, we've got seminars and events where we invite parents to join us. We've got something called the Saturday Community Event, and it's once a month on a Saturday. And we right now we're doing it online, but we also have it, also have it face to face.
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you. It's a bit slowed, but are you there, Mary? It looks as if the internet has. Mary, are you there? Okay, so if you can hear me, Mary, can you just reconnect through the link? Yes, just reconnect whilst you're waiting for Mary to come in. We thought that I thought it will be helpful to share some videos we on Mary, or Mary, what happens in the school. I don't know if my technical director has got one where the teachers are actually. Okay, so let me see if I can open I can play that video. Oh, all right, let's have a look. Right, so let's see whether I can share that. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Donna Gordon Appiaje, and I'm Vice Principal of the Infant Section of Ghana International School.
Can you
Welcome to
can you
our
see my screen?
section. We have over 56 different nationalities represented in our students
Okay.
and teachers.
Hold on.
Our children start off here at the infant section at 3 years old. Of our school.
I just need to show that it's
Section
let me
at
try it again,
4
sharing it
and
again.
year one. In year 2 in the infant section.
Mary's back. Okay. Can you hear me, Mary?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. Okay. We're trying to see if I could play it. I started playing the video, but I wasn't really anywhere near.
Okay.
Okay. So just to go
All
back
right.
to the point you were talking about, we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
how having that difference in the control in the school
Mm-hmm.
against the control at home. And
Right,
you
at
talked
home.
about collaboration between the school and parents, so
Yes,
organizing programs for children, for parents,
definitely.
just to educate
That's
them,
all we
just to
can
say,
do. That's
okay,
right.
okay.
That's what we
How
can
how does that
do.
go?
We can't obviously.
Yeah.
I was saying that we can't go into people's homes and legislate what they do. All we can do is create awareness about the downsides of just leaving the devices in the hands of the kids with no supervision whatsoever. So, to this end, we have in the primary school, they call them coffee mornings. So, they have coffee mornings with parents and they teach them about digital citizenship. We teach the children about digital citizenship at school, but we also teach the parents what it means. And then over across the rest of the school, we have these community events on Saturdays once a month. And then we also have a Tuesday once a month meeting as well with all parents, anyone who can join in, a Tuesday breakfast meeting. And we raise such issues, all right, about cybersecurity, cyber safety, all of that. And we try to let them know that your children are on all sorts of sites you've probably never heard of before, and to get them to understand that they need to pay special attention to these devices that the children have access to. So that's what we are doing, creating awareness all the time, sending stuff regularly home. If we find something of interest, we send it home. But that's all. That's all we can do, really.
Okay. So one of the things that I mean, we've observed is that you have instances where parents are thrown between giving children their a purely academic form of education or vocational education. I mean, where you and I probably grew up, the emphasis was more on going through the normal GCSE, sixth form, university, going through that route.
Mm-hmm.
But we also know that
Mm-hmm.
children can go through. Some children are naturally born talented in vocational things, so they can go straight
Mm.
into woodwork. They can go straight into other things that also can develop them, and it's something they can enjoy doing. Have you observed any of these? I mean, have you had a chance to kind of observe some of these between? I mean, with about children in your school, and what advice would you give to parents when it comes to those things in decision making? Because in some cases, parents insist that children go on one particular route, whereas
Mm-hmm.
where it's very
Mm-hmm.
clear that a child needs to go in a different route, and the child probably will enjoy going a separate route much better. What do you think?
It's always a tough one, really, really tough one. As you say, as you say, um, there's lots of parents who don't yet understand that pushing the child into an area that they are not either confident in or passionate about is a bad idea. All right.
Mhm.
There are many people who can keep working hard at whatever you throw at them, but not everybody is like that. We try as much as possible with counseling services. So the school has got bona fide counselors who take the children through these decision making processes and then have meetings with parents as well. Because as you know, in our Ghanaian culture, um, children really don't make decisions, do they? Right?
No.
You hardly find a kid saying, "Oh, I want to be this," and parents say, "Yay, go for it." You know,
You're seen and
it's
not
not
you're
very
seen and not
usual,
heard.
right? Yes, exactly. So we realized long ago that getting the child to figure out what they're good at is only half the battle. The major battle is with the parents to understand. And so we have put some muscle behind that by providing counselors. So counseling is very important for us here. We've got all sorts of career decision type of exercises for children to do once they get into secondary school. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? How do you mitigate this and mitigate that? So as we're going along, the kids are figuring it out. And then by Form 4, when they have to choose their courses, by then they already know what they're good at and they want to maximize
Okay.
that particular choice. And then we don't tell them that the fact that you're good at it means that it's easy. That's what parents usually want, what's tough, because they want the kids to work hard. But we try to tell them it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter, right? So it could seem easy, but that's probably because the child has got a propensity for that particular way of learning, that subject presents itself. You've got someone really good in art, right? And the person is very, very agile with their hands and movements and all that. Somebody's really good at music, they're great auditory learners, right? But someone is an analytical person, they'll be great in the sciences and math, but not everybody is like that, right? But if you remember in Achimota, regardless of whether you were a science or arts student, you had to take English literature. And I think that has worked wonders for all of us, that it really helped us all to become really literate, to appreciate books and fiction in particular, because typically those who are logical learners don't really like to read fiction, or so we were
Mhm.
led to believe. So that beautiful balance where you're letting the kid do some sciences, they're doing some art subjects, throw in a language here and there, but there should be some subjects that every child should be exposed to, because they grow your soul, they feed your soul. And those subjects, I think, are some of those, the music, the art,
Mhm.
sculpture, those kind of things that get you to wonder and to sit and muse and so on. Everyone needs to take advantage of that. And then those who are more business minded, you go and do your economics, your accounting, whatever. Those who are more mathy, sciencey, you go off and you do that engineering stuff as well. And then those who want to philosophize about stuff, you can go in and do your history and geography and all your humanities. But at the same time, you've got a certain good grounding of everything else. you know. So we work both with the children and with the parents. I must say the children are certainly way more open. They're so happy when they're flowing in their giftings and what's good for them, right? They are happy. It's the parents we struggle with,
I
right?
would say.
It's the parents. I remember 2 years ago, there was a young man, he had passed his IGCSEs, and that's O levels for the old fogies among us. So he's passed his IGCSEs and he's coming into sixth form to do his A levels. And the VP, based on the child's IGCSE marks, had assigned some humanities courses to this young man. Father walks in just mad. Why have you assigned this to my son? He's not going to do this, he's going to be a doctor. We're like, are you kidding me? You know, your son got an A in history. You know, he got an A minus in business studies, right? And he got a D in chemistry and an E in math. Hello? Right? And the dad says, but that's what he has to do. All my children have a profession given to them. So the first one was an engineer. The second one was to be a lawyer. So this third one has no choice but to be a medical professional, you know, which was just sad. It was really sad because you could see from the boy's face, when the dad wasn't looking at the boy, he looked terrified and sad. When the dad looked at him, he goes, yes, I want to do medicine. And we were like, oh my gosh, this is a lifetime of grief that you are creating, you know. So we've tried here at GIS to highlight the arts a lot and to also show that you can have a career in the arts, and that really none of us can do without the arts, you know. None of us can do without the arts. We wake up in the morning, we put music on,
Yeah.
you know. We do all sorts of stuff. When you're studying, you've got music on, you want to concentrate, you've got music on. Music at our parties and all of that, right? And then you look at art. We've got artwork on our walls. And why? Because they're beautiful things and they make us happy. But we don't appreciate people who do them. You know, it really boggles the mind. But I think it's because so much emphasis has been placed on the sciences and math and law and engineering, you know, because there are jobs. Our economies are growing. And when you've got a growing economy, you need those professions to really push the economy forward. We've forgotten that we can get all of those things and have no music. Can you imagine a world without music?
It's interesting you said that because I and it's also very interesting that you're in your school you are having that collaboration and educating parents, because you're right. If you think of it, gone with the days when everybody has to do law or medical sciences or be a medical doctor or be whatever those things. But now, when you look around us, there are so many things that children can do and which are insightful things, which are innovative things. I mean, it's what you would think is that children should get education and then they should apply the education and identify a field that they really enjoy and go into it. No, so I'm going to paint a typical example where you've got a child who is obviously, like you did mention, it's not obviously not academic. That child does not like studying books, as it were, but that child is very good in maybe sports. I mean, you said a lot, but you haven't actually mentioned sports. But sports is another area. There are parents who would insist that no way, you cannot be a sports person because that's not what you were. Like you said, the parent said that's not what you're meant to be. You're meant to be a medical doctor. You're meant to be
Yeah.
a lawyer. You're meant to be a teacher. You're meant to be.
Yeah.
Have you come across anything like that? I mean, especially with the sports, because look at sports now.
But sports has changed, actually. Sports has come a long way in parents' estimations compared to art and music. And I think that is because a place like Ghana, sports is huge, especially for money footballers make, right? Especially those who go international. So it actually reveals the biases of parents that, yeah, they love they can say, my son is an engineer, but their son to make money. That's what it is, right? So
Yeah.
because people have gone into sports and made a lot of money, it's actually a desirable career. I've had 2 students leave GIS to attend UK schools that are closely aligned with the major leagues, right? And they
Okay.
recruit from there and so on. I mean, these are and most parents who bring their children to GIS, if not all parents, are very strongly academic. They want the kids to go to university, right? So for them to move away from this academic environment and put the kids in a stream that would get them more exposure in sports tells you that I think the status is great to be able to, oh, my son went to so and so university and is now so and so. Even better that the son can take care of himself, right? And come and take care of them, you know. So it's in showing parents also how much money, how much support a child can give to themselves by going into a particular profession. That's what parents are looking for. If you say you want to be a singer, how are you going to make money? How does that work anyway? Do you see what I mean? We don't
Yeah.
bias towards it, and that's the reason why. Do you see? So it's one of
So
those
so what
things.
what I was just going to ask,
Yes,
what support do parents have to offer to their children? I don't know if Mary's still there. Picture is gone. Hope she's still there. We having problems with
I can
Mary's
hear you.
picture and. Oh, you can hear
I can
me.
hear you. Yeah,
Oh, I can hear. We can. Okay,
I
but
can hear you.
we can't see you. Okay. So
Yeah,
I was gonna. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say that it's interesting that you talk about sports and things like that, because you're right. Ultimately, what parents want to do is to get their children to a profession that would make sure they earn some money. Now, what support would you suggest parents should give to their children when it comes to education? I mean, some parents do, but some parents don't see the need, and some people just don't make the time. What would you say about parental support for children when it comes to education, especially in the current environment?
um support in what do you mean?
Well,
Monetary?
broadly, no, not necessarily. I mean, they for the money side, yes, you have to
Okay.
pay the fees,
Oh,
yes, but we're looking at
yeah,
broadly the educational aspect of it, not the financial aspect. I mean, the financial aspect could be, but we know the financial aspect does not go away. You have to pay the money, but
yeah,
once you pay the
yeah.
money, what else do you do?
You need to be present. You need to be present. The child needs to feel that there's a certain triangle, child, um, and then the home, right? There's that triangle there. And where school is more like the teacher. So the child needs to know that whatever happens in school, that you, the parent, you will hear about it, right? And teacher needs to know, or child needs to know that teacher will know whatever happens. The case in point, it's in the primary school, but all across the school, we do ask parents to let us know if is that a lot of children will change attitude when there's no parental figure. Sometimes they've left with grandparents, sometimes they've left them with house help, but that does happen as well. Forgive me, there's a plane flying overhead. But whenever parents email us to say, I'm going to be out of the country for the next 2 weeks, this is just to let you know, right? It's amazing what the teacher can do to ensure that learning flow continues, right? So you're watching the child, you know that something has changed in the home ecosystem, right? And so you can be even more present for the child as a teacher, right? If, let's say, at home, the mom knows, for example, that we're about to treat this topic. It is a very, it's a difficult topic. We'll be going a bit slower than we normally do. Maybe you know your child well enough that your child may not be able to studying, and you're in constant communication with a parent, with a teacher. You can have the teacher suggest, or the teacher, not that you have the teacher suggest, but the teacher will suggest, you know what, we're going to go really fast. Marcus needs more time on this particular topic because he struggled with this other topic that is comparable. Is it okay if you leave him behind after school for a half hour? Don't pick him up at 3 o'clock, pick him up at 3:30. I'll help him through his work. See, so that triangulation there between the home, the school, with the child also there really helps to let the child know I am supported. When there's something that's not going too well, I can ask mom to talk to the teacher if I can't talk to the teacher, or the teacher will be talking to mom as well. So I think that beyond financial stuff, financing your child's education, being present and letting the child know I am present. It doesn't mean you have to sit with them and doing their homework and all of that. They need to be more independent, right? So you will start off like that, but you must be moving the child slowly away from that so that they can deal with it on their own. But they must, you are in touch with the teacher. So for example, a child will say, oh, mom, on Saturday, I need to go to Marcus's because we're doing a project. Some parents won't even bother to check the schedule or the homework on Google Classroom, right? We've had an instance before several years ago in another school where that's not what they were going to do. They were hanging out with friends, they were these girls who are hanging out with much older boys, right? And it was not pretty, but parent had no clue what was going on in school, right? So when the child said, oh, I need to go and study with this other friend, about 2 or 3 of them, they all congregated at the most liberal home. They all know which homes are liberal. They know the ones where the parents leave you to just do whatever, and they know the homes that they shouldn't go to. Do you see what I mean? So all those kids from the homes that were a bit stricter told their parents they were doing homework, because you know what? As soon as a parent hears homework, oh, I want my child to do homework.
Yeah.
And then they all then went over to the home where they knew nobody would be watching them, right? And then proceeded to do whatever they wanted. And, police got involved in everything and stuff. This was several years ago, not at GIS, but in another school that I was at. So presence, a parent's presence is really key. And that presence then comes with some awareness. And the child has got to know this.
Okay. You know what? One other thing that I was going to ask you about, we're going to talk about, is you as an author. But just before we go on to that, I have one question. But even before that, I just want to say, for those who have just joined and we're talking, we have as our guest tonight, Dr. Mary Azabiashun, who is the principal of Ghana International School in Ghana, West Africa. For those of you who don't know where Ghana is. And Mary has been a teacher for years, and she has been a principal for just coming to 6-7 years now. A school that's diverse and multicultural. It's got over 45 nationalities in the school. Okay, please, if you have any questions for Mary, please put them in the chat. Or if you have any questions after the program, you can send them to Business and Experts Forum at gmail.com. Business and Experts Forum at gmail.com, and we'll try as much as possible to respond to those questions. Mary, we're going to be talking about you as an author, but before that, let me just ask this question. I mean, we are all aware of the current situation that we find ourselves in globally, and it's all about COVID. So then my question to you is that how have you managed as an educationist in the COVID environment? I mean, it must be really difficult. How have you managed? And what are some of the adaptations that you've had to implement in the school just to ensure that education is not interrupted, and the children are not kind of unduly disadvantaged when it comes to educating them?
Mhm. Well, we were home for almost 18 months, I think, from about March until September of this year. So kids came in quite changed in terms of just being so overly excited to be with one another again and to be part of all the drama that is school. Probably our biggest challenge right now has been just to keep the lid on a little bit because the kids are just way too excited, to be in school. We've had to adapt our drop off and our pickup. Applied the spraying of hands with sanitizer, taking of the temperature at the school gate, mask wearing all day. We allow kids every so often to have a breathing moment, and every class will practice this. They have a breathing moment. But then, for the most part, everyone is wearing a mask except when they have to eat. And we caution them that they should not talk, but then again, that does fall on deaf ears when you're talking to children. So those are some of the major changes that we have had to put into place just to ensure that kids are safe. We also require that whenever a child is sick, that we are informed by the parent. Initially, that was tough because there was the fear of stigmatization. And so it was tough because in a school of approximately 1,400 students, and to go through a couple of weeks with no COVID case was becoming a little bit odd, given the number of COVID cases in the country, and by no means the UK or the US has experienced. But bit by bit, as people understood, as we kept on educating both parents and children about COVID and that it is a person who has it is not to be stigmatized, that has gone down, and we do get word from parents that they're keeping the children at home because they're unwell, they're coughing, they're sneezing, and so on. I've lost 2 staff members to COVID. One most recently, he passed away maybe about 2-3 months ago, a security guard, much loved by everyone. The road in front of the school will never be the same again. Paul used to be on the road directing traffic in the morning, in the afternoon, a gentleman through and through. And we lost him to COVID. He was just buried last week. And then we had Dora, who had been in the school for about 25 years. So literally, she was GIS and just amazing, larger than life, literally. You hear her voice and it just booms through the assembly hall. She was loving. Kids just loved her. She was amazing. She was a primary school teacher, and she got sick over the Christmas holidays. And during that big spike at Christmas, from Christmas all the way through to January, she was one of those who got caught in it. The whole school was distraught. We had a memorial service. So she was the first one who passed away from it. Be aware that it is something that can ravage our community if we're not careful. So constant teaching people about it is so important. In the school, we have more than 2/3 vaccinated. Many of our children who are over 15 have also vaccinated in the latest round of government vaccinations. Those who are not vaccinated, we continue to encourage them, but we don't marginalize or show any bias towards them. But we continue to educate and to let them know that this is a protective mechanism for you and for those you love, those around you. We're living from day to day and just praying that all goes well and that we keep ourselves safe. But it's not easy. It's like walking a tightrope. And of course, as children are wont to do, they forget that there is a dangerous disease hovering around. And, I just have to look out of my window, and where it is placed, there's a walkway underneath my window to the car park. So when the children are going out to their cars, My window is just right above, and they completely forget principal is up there. And I can open my window and I hear their conversation. Your mask needs to be on, not off. And they're like, ooh, 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 and they forget that I'm sitting up here. Sometimes I don't say anything. I'm just listening to their conversations, whose boyfriend is who, and who's been dogged by who, and who likes who, and all of that stuff. And I just stand at my window and I smile those days as well. But yeah, we're trying to live. I think that's the critical thing. We don't
Okay,
care, but we want to be aware. Yeah.
that's good. That's good. You know what, Mary? We're just running out of time now. So one other thing that you are is you are an author, and you have written about
I
11
am.
books. But I want to focus on, before I ask about, I mean, what started you in writing. I just want to just focus a little bit about your last book. This
Mm.
was a book that you wrote, I think, during the pandemic, and you titled the book
Hmm.
"Grace, the Pandemic Warrior." So, what was the
Yes.
reason behind that title, and why Grace?
So I had been to a year two class. They were doing favorite book character week, and they had read one of my books. So I went there to go and chat with them and ask them if they had any questions. So we had a really fun time. The book is called Stubborn Kwame. And Stubborn Kwame, I wrote for my son, who's now 23 years old, but I wrote it for him when he was 2 years old because he was stubborn. And I thought if I put it into a story, he might actually, only for him to get to the end of the story and say, Mommy, that
That's
Kwame, he
not
was
me.
really, really naughty. And I
Then I'll
said,
say,
yeah, like
that
you.
is you.
you know. So the kids read that. We chatted about it. We talked about being naughty and being good and so on. And I told them how proud I was of them, that they were behaving, blah, blah, blah. And as I was leaving, one kid said, oh, 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 I have a question. I have a question. So the teacher looks at me and I said, no problem. I'll listen to this one question. Then the student says, Dr. Shan, when are you going to write a story about the pandemic?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Mary, you've lost your sound. You pressed mute. Check. I think you've pressed mute. Is it? Okay. Okay. All right. So, right. So it's such a shame we're having network problems with Mary. Hopefully she would come back. In the meantime, as I said, if you have any questions for Mary, please remember to put them in the chat. I've just seen a question come through. I'll try and pose that question to her when she reappears. And also, if you're unable to pose your question during the program and you want to send a question to us after the program, please send it to Business and Experts Forum at gmail.com. Mary is back.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay. So you
So
got to the point where they were saying, Miss, yes, I want to know
yeah.
what book yeah.
When are you going to write us a story? When are you going to write us a story? And it just stopped me cold because I had been thinking about writing a story for kids about the pandemic and getting them to try to understand it better, because even adults were scared. Even adults were worried. They didn't quite understand. And my PhD research was in virology. And so while I was concerned about all that was going on with the spread of COVID, I understood viruses and how viruses work. And I thought I need to write something for children, but it's not a science book. I don't want to tell them what a virus is and how a virus operates or something. I want to rather talk about the need to be calm, the need to be calm, to become aware, to control your anxiety, and find out what is best to do and do it, and you'll be fine. And I've been thinking about it, but most of my stories, they percolate in my head for a really, really long while. And so I wasn't thinking I had taken too long to write the story. I just knew that when I'm ready, it will come out. So when this student asked me to write the story, I thought, oh, okay, that's my cue.
Yeah.
So the very next break I had, and water is a real stimulator for me. When I sit by water, when I'm near water, I get more creative. I may not write anything, but I just get that much more creative, and my mind just switches on onto writing. And so my husband's family live in Takoradi. So I thought, let me take a trip down, go and visit family, and then I can sit and stare at the ocean. And that's exactly what I did. I got there on a Friday, visited with family, stared at the ocean. Saturday around 3 a.m. in the morning, I woke up and took out my laptop, and boom, the story came out. Typed it all out that day.
Why Grace?
And Grace, because my younger sister is called Grace, and she's been battling autoimmune disease, and she's such a fighter, So when I was thinking, who am I going to name this after, she came to mind, and also a bit of a play on words, that Grace, this, right? Grace, the sheer grace of God for those who are believers in God, the sheer grace of God is what's going to get us through this. So it was both a play on words as well as being named after my sister, who was called Grace. So that's where Grace the Pandemic Warrior came from.
Okay. There is a question in the chat, which I'm going to send to you straight away. Well, it says that we all know that children sometimes need to be pushed to achieve their full potential. How do you know the right amount of pushing to give without going overboard?
Oh my gosh, that is a tough one, and it's a sort of play it by ear and lots of observation, right? If anyone's listening who's got more than one child, your children are so different. One child, you push, they just buckle down and they do nothing. Another child, the more you push, the better they get. So I think it has to be that kind of thing where you push a bit and you see what kind of effect it gets. Right? There are all sorts of ways of incentivizing learning, right? One of the best ways of discipline, which somehow people find it difficult to do, which I don't understand, but taking away stuff that children might be attached to, especially electronic devices, limiting the time that they would spend on things like that they consider leisurely time. When you take that away, they appreciate that so much that when you take it away, they immediately feel the pinch. And oftentimes that's what I tell parents: start with that, and don't resort to beating, which is what unfortunately many people in our communities are likely to do, because that's what they know. But you need to, just like anything else, don't go into it full throttle, thinking that I'm going to be really harsh with the learning for this child. You do it a bit at a time and see how the child responds, right? Put pressure where you think that the pressure might be received well, but and also balance it with some motivating stuff. I'll give you an example. When my kids were younger, one of the things I really wanted them to do is to come downstairs on time and have breakfast, right? Because here I was a teacher. The same time that they have to be in school, I have to be in school. I'm looking after kids. They are in another school, because I was teaching in a high school and they were too young to be in that high school. Their school was on the other side of town, so everything had to be by the minute. We all get down by 7:00. We have breakfast by 7:15, and we used to do devotionals as a family. We're doing our devotionals while we're having breakfast, because we're multitasking. Hop into the car, I drop you guys off at the babysitter who's just 5 minutes from the school, so that the kids could walk across the school, so I could dash over to the other side of town and to teach. So everything is bam, 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 bam. But I was spending so much time yelling. Wake up, didn't the alarm go off? Come on, you've been too long in the shower. Come out of the shower. Just yelling my head off. And by the time I get to work, I'm a stressed bag of beans. And so what I did was I got this big chart paper. On the left-hand side, I put the kids' names: Abeku, Kwamina, Jojo on one side. And then at the top, I had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If you came downstairs on time, meaning you've brushed your teeth, you've bathed, everything, and I'm not going to wake you up, you come downstairs on time, you get a star. So I had these sticky stars that teachers have, and I would stick the stars on there. And if you got stars all week, you got a movie ticket for Saturday. Bam!
Okay.
You
That
see,
was
so
it.
here I was using something to motivate them. That thing was important. I was also showing them how to self-regulate, right? So you're killing a couple of birds with one stone, and all it cost me was something I would probably do anyway, which was to get them to go to the movies to have fun. Do you see what I mean? But
Okay,
I
all
tied
right.
it in with stuff.
Thank you very much, Mary. You know what I was gonna say? Once you said that, you know what I was thinking? I was thinking that,
What?
you know what? This tricking is not gonna work on Mary. It's not gonna work on you. What you did with your sons will not work on you. But because knowing you, it still will not have worked. But there again, at least you tried and it worked. So right, thank you very much. We run out of time.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, Mary, for coming on the
you're
program.
welcome.
It's been really interesting. I'm sure if we want to carry on talking, we can talk to
Hmm.
whenever, because when it comes to kids, and you are so passionate about educating children and the relationship with children, that I'm sure there's a lot more that you want to say. But unfortunately, we've actually gone over our time. I just want to apologize to our audience. It's been a bit stretched. This program is a bit stretched because it became too interesting. When it comes to children, sometimes it gets really interesting. Okay, so thank you very much. We want to say a big thank you to Mary, Dr. Mary Asabia Ashon. Mary is
Thank you.
the principal of Ghana International School in Ghana, West Africa, and she has been in that position for 6-7 years now. She's been a teacher for years. She's always had a passion for educating children, and she's doing something that she loves doing. So it's been a real pleasure having you, Mary, out here. I know you're still in the office,
Hmm.
and that tells us that the level of passion that you have when it comes to children, educating children. So thank you very much. Also, for those of you out there in the audience, I want to say a big thank you to you, because everything I say, as I say on every episode, without you, this program is going to go nowhere. So thank you for coming, also spending time with us, even though we've gone over the time this week. Please make time with us again in 2 weeks' time, precisely on the 20th of December, for another episode of Business and Access Forum. So until then, when we come your way again, please, this is Marcus saying, enjoy your evening and thanks for watching. Bye for now.